They're really insulting.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call of the members present, please? I'm here.
Councilmember Conover?
Present.
Councilmember Biggs?
Here.
Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Justin?
Here.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Councilman Rivas is on his way. He should be here any minute. Just to let everybody know. Chair, first reading, please.
Notice to taxpayers of proposed additional appropriation. Notice to say by given the taxpayers of Porter County, Indiana, that the proper legal officers of Porter County, Indiana, will meet in the Porter County Government Administration Building, located at 155 Indiana Avenue, Valparaiso, Indiana, 46383, on December 1st, 2016, at 5 p.m. to consider the following additional appropriations in the assessment county budget for the year 2015, and to transact any appropriations with the Porter Council. Porter County General Fund, Jail General, 1,1042.2250, other supplies, $794.50. Parks Operating, $1179, 3340, advertising, $25,000. Riverboat, $1191, 1241, longevity, $158,592. Treasurer Tax Sale Fund, tax sale fees, $1203, 3340, advertising, $3, 1203, 3950, contractual services, $21,925. Juvenile probation user fees, $2150, 2151, 3964, toxicology lab, $5,000. Hospital interest, $4902, 3950, contractual services, $1,062,018. Community Emergency Response, 8145, 3130, training and education, fees, $555.11. Citizens Court, 9117, 4540, other equipment, $2,000. Taxpayers appearing at such meeting shall have the right to be heard thereon. The additional appropriations is finally made will be referred to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. The DLGF will make a written determination as to the sufficiency of funds to support the appropriations made within 15 days of the receipt of a certified copy of the action taken, signed Victor Garrett, Auditor of Porter County, published in the Chester Tribune, November 20th, 2015.
Thank you very much. So we're going to jump on over here just a little bit for a couple of reasons. One is I want Councilman Rivas here for some of this, and I've been asked to call a couple up sooner because there's folks that have to get out of here. Start with the treasurer. There's a treasurer here. There's the treasurer. Looking for you. No problem. So we've got a request, additional $3 to $3340 advertising, $21,925 to $3950 contractual. Reason to cover tax sales fees for the 15 tax sale invoices, 2015561 and 2015464, and to cover negative balance $3 short on one invoice.
Move. Second.
We have a motion and a second on the additional request. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Justin?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
We'll jump down to juvenile detention. Juvenile detention here? Yeah, there you are. You were more hidden than she was. General Fund JDC 1000-1080-80, a transfer of $3,000 from 3140 Med and Hospital Services to 1120 hourly, $500 from 3140 Med and Hospital to dues and subscriptions. To cover part-time staff and end-of-year bills, what is your pleasure?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. I see on all the transfers.
Yes.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Transfers are approved. Juvenile probation. How's it going this evening? With an additional $5,000 to $39.64 Tox Lab to pay for drug testing supplies and services for the remainder of the year. In addition, there are a series of transfer requests. $1,000 for interpreter to travel, $900 for maintenance agreements to travel, $500 from dues and subscriptions to travel, $400 from office equipment, over $100 to travel, to pay travel and mileage expenses. What's your pleasure with these requests?
Motion to approve.
Second. Is that the additional and the transfers?
Yes.
Second concurs? Very good. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner?
Yes.
Wonderful.
President, may I make one additional request to the council?
Sure.
Real quickly?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I had an employee retire just last week, and actually goes off the payroll this coming Monday, December 7th. I had submitted for this particular meeting, a reduction in salary. However, knowing that I wasn't going to fill that position until after the first of the year, I based it on the 2016 approved budget salary that was approved for that position, and then a reduction for that next year. And then I was informed by the auditor that the council can't make a decision on 2016 budget until 2016. So I would really love to hire a new employee right after the first of the year, and was wondering if the council would grant permission for me to go ahead and do that, and then I would gladly come in January's meeting, and then could we make it retroactive to the first of the year, that reduction?
Scott? That seems like seems like we can do that.
The salary schedule is up too. If he can hire somebody for less money,
Right.
there's nothing saying you can't hire somebody for less money.
See, I want to be clear, so you're asking to hire somebody in a spot that we've already budgeted for the position?
We did, correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's an existing position.
Sure.
I just budgeted it based on the 2016 appropriation that the council had approved for 2016.
All right.
And I would hate to have to wait till that
No, you don't have to wait.
January meeting.
Scott, you think any?
Well, we have taken the position in the near past that, contrary to what Bob said, the approved budget, the approved line item for the salary is not a up to, that is the amount unless they come here and change it.
Right.
So we've taken that position. I think we would be varying from that if we changed it now.
If you hired somebody and then we did a reduction,
I mean, we are going to have a reorganization meeting. I mean, right after the first year. I know we normally don't do business at that meeting, but I don't really know how we jump the hoops at this moment to fix this problem without doing
no,
that.
that's true. I mean, you could come back at our reorg meeting and we could address it then. That's the beginning of January.
Sure.
If you want to, I mean, you
If you
can.
want me to do that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we'll do that.
He's just looking for confirmation that
Yeah, just allow
Yeah,
me
so-
an option so that I can go ahead.
I don't think you have anything to worry about.
I haven't heard a problem that way. It's just with
I
where we're
understand.
at. it's just-
Yeah, I mean, you can start going through the process and then when we can approve it in January.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a good evening. Yep. Expo. Let me see, with the treasurer, juvenile detention. Juvenile detention. We'll transfer $2,000 from power to hourly to cover hourly wages at the end of the year, $1,000 from PERF to FICA, to cover FICA to the end of the year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I assume both transfers?
Yes.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, transfers are approved. Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec here?
Walter's on his way back from Indy, so
I know you can call him later, is he on his way here?
he's supposed to be.
Let's call him later, don't worry about it. Yeah, if he doesn't get here, we'll do it. Corner here, I don't know if it's $150 transfer from travel to dues and subscriptions, he doesn't have to be here back.
Move approved.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The ayes have it. And let's do a clerk 4D. Let's get all the last page of the agenda. Clerk 4D. We have a series of transfers, $2,000 from office equipment to contractual, $610 from maintenance agreements to contractual, and $500 from travel to contractual to pay Dossett Consulting Services. What's your pleasure?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion? How's the clerk this evening? Wonderful.
Doing well.
Good. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Transfers are approved. Yep. And Porter Superior Court Deal 1, I have it on transfer, $270 from legal to dues and subscriptions, Court Reporter Association dues for T. Loftus.
Move. Second.
Couple of motions and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's get some of this good. Emergency management. I'm jumping all over this thing.
Yes, you were.
I am. We're gonna get to the good stuff at the end. Save the good stuff at the end. Several requests in front of us. Community Emergency Response, 8145-0000-47, additional $555.11 to training and ed, purchase CERT training material supplies, also an additional request $2,000 to other equipment to purchase 1-2 automated external defibrillators, and then grant funds EMA transfer $4,507.84 from consultants to equipment other than vehicles to cover the purchase of radios for statewide radio upgrade. What's your pleasure?
Move. Second.
Motion second, I assume on both additionals and
Yes,
transfer? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good holiday, and see you later. 4D Court. General Fund, 1000-1040-40. How are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Not too shabby, really.
Good.
Transfer $1,000 from legal to hourly payroll, $76.50 from legal. He's taking money away from legal. What's going on in this country? To FICA, payroll shortage expenses. What's your pleasure? A motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
And good evening, good holiday. Animal shelter. So in front of us, we have general fund transfer, $24,000 from salaries to vet services to cover vet expenses through December 15. Also, supplemental fund transfer of $3,146.61 from other supplies to vet services to cover consulting fees through December 2015. I assume those requests, you need those, and we need to address the other transfer request?
I need to change the first request
Okay.
from 24 to 20,000,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
And then the second request is fine the way it is.
Good.
The third request is general fund, salaries to hourly for $4,000. Just taking up that other $4,000.
All right, so salaries to hourly,
Yeah,
$4,000.
yeah.
Everybody understand that request?
Yes.
Point of clarification, the first one, did you want to transfer it to veterinary or to hourly?
No, to veterinary.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you have that in front of you. 20,000 is the new number for the transfer from salaries to vet.
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
I assume on all of these?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'd like to ask just one question.
Sure.
On the veterinary services, are you using all the vets in the county, or are you employing one, or?
No, we use them all, some a little more than others because they're more flexible in getting our animals
Okay.
quicker, so, but we do use them all.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Transfers are approved.
Very much.
Good evening. All right. So, let's go back to the front page. Commissioners. All right. How are the commissioners this evening? Happy to be here, such enthusiasm. Calm down.
All right.
Okay, so we've got a series of requests in front of us. It's my understanding that the first one, the hospital interest additional, we're pulling that off the table. So that's been withdrawn. Moving right along, let's just take these. Some of these are to deal with the jail security project and then other things we have going on. So, rainy day, commissioners transfer $150,000, equipment to contractual the jail security project. Do you want to explain the project? Just want to explain that real quick.
Yeah, the jail security system at the Porter County Jail is at its optimum life, and probably over its optimum life.
So past.
It's past it, and we went out and did a request for proposal. We got 3 proposals, went through the vetting process. The Sheriff's Department did a great job breaking it down. We came up with a bidder. It was awarded at our last Commissioners meeting. It went to Videotech, which is a local company, and they're teaming up with another company that has the horsepower on the equipment side. And so the Commissioners have approved to move forward on the jail security system. It's going to be about a 5-month install.
Okay.
The option before us was whether we were going to use interest money to pay for the whole thing or whether we were going to lease it. And we felt, based on our discussions with you and talking with CEDAT, and over the next year, how tight things are going to be, we recommended and approved that we go to a lease situation for a 3-year lease. We're only obligated to pay 1 year, and after 1 year, if the hospital interest starts kicking up some more, we can always have the flexibility to pay it off.
Is there any prepay?
There's before 1 year, yes.
Okay.
After 1 year, no.
And we probably...
3-year deal.
We'll probably be needing to have a year anyway.
Just through working through warranties and through other things, it's going to take that long anyway, so...
Okay.
What's the price tag?
The price tag on the total project was $1,127,000. So but it's going to bring the jail up to top-notch security that...
You know, and maybe you can't answer this, but what's the life expectancy of the security system? I mean, when will we be looking at a complete upgrade or reinstall of a new system?
Well, unfortunately, that's one of the hardest things I think that we're going to be facing in county government over the next 10 years is technology.
Right.
This system here was a total analog system. You couldn't even buy parts, you couldn't even get anything for it because nobody makes analog anymore.
Right.
So today, we're talking digital. What's it going to be in 5 to 7 years? So I think that if you take a look at all of our venues across the board, 911, the jail security system, I mean, our technology here at the government center, a lot of things that we do in county government has a lot to do with technology. And as it continues to ramp up and get more sophisticated, it's going to be probably easier replaced in quicker years. So it's slowly becoming it's going from a capital item to an expense item here real quick.
So maybe as we start going down that path of our foundation, start having our meetings, maybe we need to be budgeting so much money a year for technology. Yeah.
And I would also, Dan, Mr. President, I would also talk that I think this lease situation is sort of an interesting situation too, because I think the one way that you can control your cost is by maybe entering into more leases to where you're only termed out after 3 to 5 years, right. And then at that time, maybe that's when you upgrade your technology, right. To sort of like the car thing, leasing a car, right. But it's the same way with your technology. So we're sort of trying this as a way to look at this, and this is a first step into this, because I know in the past the county's always just bought things, but I think this is an area where I think we're starting to take a little bit different look at it. So,
okay. So this is a lease purchase, I'm assuming.
That is correct.
All right.
Yeah, the sheriff had the same suggestion today. He said, why put it all up front? Well,
we need to, and I've had candid conversations with the sheriff and with the commissioners where we need to be maintaining our cash to get us through next year. We're anticipating our foundation and the investments will be bringing in more return, but we really need to be thinking in terms of protecting our cash as much as we can to get to the end of next year.
Yep.
Okay, do you guys want me to tackle these all at once, or do you want them doing one at a time?
Do them all.
All right, rainy day commissioners transfer $150,000 from equipment to contractual jail security project. CEDA transfer $417.74 from FICA longevity, $3726.80 from PERF to longevity to cover second half of longevity. Is that right? Is that number right? Yeah. CEDA transfer $37,000 from contractual to contractual services to cover expected expenses through 15 jail medical contract. CCD transfer $50,000 from contractual services to water and sewer. It's $25,000 from contractual services to power to cover expected expenses through 2015. Transfer $1,000 from change of venue to household and bedding. $1,500 from appraisers to household and bedding. This is general fund commissioners to cover expected expenses through 15. Also CEDA transfer $5,110 from building maintenance to uniforms and clothing to cover expected expenses through 2015. That's the police vests. I believe that's it. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor on all transfers, I assume.
I have one question.
Discussion.
Yes, just one question.
Sure.
On that jail medical contract, what was the extended expense that you have, expected expenses through 2015? Do they keep coming up with extra stuff? Because, we made that contract, it was $1.3 million.
She's asking about the CEDA transfer, $37,000. It's called to cover expected expenses under jail medical contract. What would be the expected expense?
Have they added on something? It was? Can you repeat?
In the agreement. Cost of living raised in the agreement.
Okay, that's fine. Just wondered what it was.
Any other questions? That's a good question, Sylvia. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor on these transfers, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Transfers are approved. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's cover Porter County Council, legal board additional $158,592 to longevity funds for second half of longevity pay. What's your pleasure?
Move, second.
Motion second. What's in that fund right now? Vicki?
That is it. That additional is about,
What you see is what you get. Rick Wilson.
and that's not going to cover the longevity bonuses, and that's why in the previous motion you transferred money
Right.
that was left over from the spring longevity into longevity. We're piecing it together
I
as
got
much
you.
as possible to pay the bonuses. But I do want to let you know that FICA and PERF will have to come out of the general fund. There's just not enough money
Okay.
to pay for FICA and PERF for the longevity fund.
You said longevity bonus,
Yes.
what is that?
It's the bonuses that the council established,
So think yourself.
way back when.
Longevity.
Longevity,
It's just longevity.
It's just
yes.
longevity.
I call it bonus, 'cause
Well, that's what happens when you call something word.
It's the second half of
All right,
longevity.
okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, I think, on the floor. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jessen,
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten,
Yes.
Councilmember Conover,
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs,
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
Yes.
7-0.
All right. Is Walter here yet for Parks?
Yeah, he's here.
All right, let's do Parks. How's it going, Walter? The Parks operating an additional $25,000 to advertising, postage, handling, printing, copying, January 2016 program guide. In addition, we have an additional set of transfers, $232.65 from building liability, comp coverage, general fund park department, $156.54 from water sewer, $500 from vehicle repairs, $180 from compliance testing, $230 from maintenance agreements to event expenses, Winter Lights Festival expenses. Very festive. What's your pleasure with these?
Move
On the additional end transfers?
on all of it.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, discussion.
Yes. It's my understanding there's one line item that, in the maintenance agreement, how much money is in there?
Maintenance agreements only have $71.83.
Oh,
So you can approve that transfer, but you're not
can't do
gonna
anything
get-
with it. Fair enough. That's okay.
Walter,
It'll be $71.83.
Great, thank you.
Just darn.
the 25,000, that's a pretty sizable amount.
Correct.
Just to keep the book.
How much was in your advertising me at the beginning of the year, line item?
Oh,
Pull it up, Vicki.
50, maybe, 40 or 50, which we knew was gonna end up being a little short. So that was one of the items that we knew we were gonna end up playing with.
This is a lot short.
It's one of the items that we knew we'd end up playing with at the end of the year, depending on how the cash flow was. Again, we didn't know what the result was gonna be due to the 10% reduction in our general fund. So this is one of the items that a significant amount of money got moved to the non-reverting this year from the general fund.
So where's this money, we expect this money to come out of? The 25,000?
It's our non-reverting fund.
It's operating.
Yeah.
Out of your non-reverting fund?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How much did you move into your non-reverting?
I think it was about $45,000 additional. Whatever the 10% was that we agreed last year, everything that came out of the general fund went into the non-reverting fund. So it's been kind of piecemeal as we go. Those things that we've been able to take on, we've asked for additionals out of that fund. Those that we haven't been able to do, either because of cash flow or just not enough revenue, then we've just...
How much is that non-reverting fund right now?
It's at about 15 or 16. We're waiting for the deposit to hit it for November.
16.
$599.
When's the deposit gonna happen?
I thought it would be in there today. There's a $22,000 deposit,
Okay.
but I apologize. I just got back from Indianapolis.
It's okay.
About an hour ago, and
Okay.
the good news is we got more money.
Yeah.
Good news, you're home alive.
Yeah.
On ice.
Any other questions or comments on this?
No.
Hearing none, let's get a roll call on this, please.
Councilmember Papera.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Connell.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Justin.
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you very much, Walter. Let's go with the auditor. Auditor ineligible homestead fund. Transfer $20,000 from salary to contractual, $13,000 from med life insurance to contractual, $36,580 from maintenance agreements to contractual to pay the Porter County Assessor pictometry claim.
Make the motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Yes.
Is that a second, Sylvia?
Yes.
Motion is second on the floor. Any discussion?
Thank you, Vicki, because that solves a big problem. Appreciate it.
No other discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Transfers are approved. Thank you, Vicki. Sheriff? How's it going?
It sure is.
Okay, we've got, just a few things. Sheriff's Garage, additional $794.50 to other supplies, scrap car parts recycled, total received. Commissioners are aware, approved to be, it's good, I always want you to tell me when the commissioners are aware.
That is to go to the general.
Commissioners are aware and approved to be used for garage supplies. We also have $100,000, general fund jail, Fed, DOC, from food and groceries, that's budgeted for, to contractual payment to Videotech for the jail security project. That's the other part of this.
Yeah, yes, it's good.
And then we've got a 144 request. Investigations admin assistant, $34,282 to $30,000. Record division assistant manager data entry, that's a lot of description. $28,377 to $30,000. Two records division data entry clerk switchboard. $26,768 to $28,097. Adjustment to equalized job responsibility paid effective 11/15/15 to retro pay. I did speak with the sheriff a little bit today, and I think maybe one or two, the rest of us have. I understand the part about we have somebody new in this investigation administrative assistant position. You had somebody leave, and you've hired in somebody new, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thus, we have the new salaries from $34,000 to $40,000. Perhaps you could explain, though, why the raises to the others.
Originally, those positions were switchboard positions in the records division. Now they take on a lot more responsibility, like helping out with sex offender stuff, gun permits, even crash reports, the electronic system that they help tweak also. So their job description has grown, and they're no longer just sitting there answering the phones. So we're trying to, use the money that we have. And our administrative assistant, she used to transcribe everything. She used to do manual case management with paper. Now that's all computerized. She don't have to do that anymore. So we see that the investigative duties have got smaller, and the records girls have gotten bigger. So trying to adjust that with transfers.
And I think when I talked to the sheriff today, and I asked him why he didn't bring this at the budget time, he said at the budget time he wasn't aware that we'd be making this, the person would be leaving and not coming back, and you'd have to replace, and then he would have brought it up then, but now, faced with this change, he's done a bit of a reorganization of the department, for lack of a better term, and reallocated job responsibilities. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and actually, she did come back,
Right.
and unfortunately had to retire.
Yeah, that's kind of what he indicated. So, okay, any other questions about that?
Is this pay with the raise we give them, or without?
This is without.
So besides doing this, they're gonna get the raise on top of it.
Right, because we're taking the $4,282.
Yes is the answer. Yes.
Yeah.
So this number's not accurate, it has to be...
Well, it's accurate for this year, but then come January, the numbers will be higher. Yeah. So do we have to come back, I mean, I guess that's the question. We're doing a 144 to take, if this is approved, to take someone to, say, for example, 30,000. Do we have to come back then in January and address it again, Scott, and make it 30,000 plus the raise we approved?
Yes. I'm a little confused about 11/15. Did something happen on 11/15?
Oh, yeah. Right, what did happen on 11/15?
It doesn't really matter, it wasn't in front of us.
Right. So I guess what he's asking is why the retro to 11/15? What's that?
That's when that position opened up. It had already been free, so we took...
I mean, I hope you guys didn't make a promise to somebody that may not be fulfilled.
Well, I think, yeah, but just look at this, there's two separate issues here. I get the 11/15, if that's the date that you had to hire somebody to replace the vacancy, but are we also talking about giving these raises effective retro 11/15?
This transfer here?
Yes.
Yeah, because the money has already been there, correct?
So so I guess from Bob's perspective, or if I may, what happened, I understand the part about we hired someone to fill an unexpected vacancy, and we did that on 11/15, if that's when we did it, but why would the raises, because those are two separate issues, why would the raises be retro to 11/15?
That's just because that's when we did all this reconstruction and stuff, and because we did it in the middle of the pay
Gotcha.
period, we
Well,
were
let's
pretty apt.
do this. Let's forget about the retro stuff, because
That's it.
I could go on all night why we shouldn't be doing that. I support, the salary adjustments with the additional responsibilities. Have you been all working with HR to make sure that job description matches what we're doing here tonight? Because if you haven't, you need to do that as well. So that's...
Well, I've discussed it. I'm trying to think if we did.
Yeah, well, one of those records, we've hired 2 people in there this year. So we've done, new job descriptions this year, for those. The only one that would, reduce is the one that's been held by the investigative administrative assistant for the last 30 years. So that one may need to be adjusted, but, it's gonna hurt, duties are smaller.
Yeah, but I guess along those lines, okay, now I'm confused, because I was under the impression, forget about the one that we're reducing because of a new employee, but the other ones that we're giving them a raise, you're saying it's because their job responsibilities changed based upon the changing responsibilities because of this unexpected vacancy.
No.
So, because if you're not saying that, then what you're telling me is we are reducing this person's salary, or this position's salary, because it was an unexpected vacancy, and oh, by the way, we're just giving raises to these other folks.
No.
But you're telling me you change their responsibilities, wouldn't that change their job descriptions?
Okay, so, just taking the advice of the council I've heard over this year, is
Right.
to see, you know, we see what positions over the last several years have taken on more responsibility, and we see other positions that have taken on less responsibility. We're trying to take the money away from the person that does less work now, and spread it out to the girls that are doing more work.
I totally understand that, but my point or my question is, wouldn't that change the job descriptions of the ones that you're adding more responsibilities on?
We changed those job descriptions.
When did you change those?
Their job description is a page and a half long.
When did you change those?
I believe it was last year, we gave them with no money, we gave them
Okay.
responsibility.
So that's-
They've been working with, at that low pay for a year now.
Date revised is June 2014.
So that's not what I understood, to be honest with you. I understood that all of this took place relatively recently, which is why we didn't address this at budget time.
Well, this money wasn't here at budget time.
Well,
This money wasn't freed up until this...
I understand that, but-
After retirement.
I know. But that's not, the way it was explained to me was that things have changed, and because of this new person in this position, we're reallocating some responsibilities, and because of that, we're changing these other jobs, and I need to get them some more money because their responsibilities are more. And if that's the case, that would be a recent job description change. If you're telling me that there was a job description change that was done a year and a half ago, and we're just taking this opportunity to give them a raise on top of a raise that we just gave,
There's been money in years past to give them raises though, right, to compensate for their extra duties?
yeah, and that's countywide.
Right, yeah, and that's why it hasn't been done, but now we're raising our money.
Yeah, I mean-
Should have been addressed at budget time.
Yes, Scott.
Table this,
We had no clue we would have this money to be able to do it at budget time because of the situation. And now we're gonna have someone in that position at a lower pay,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanna give the people who have been working over a year at this extra.
I totally understand what you're doing, should have been done at budget time. If you wanted to, well, yeah, you could come in and request, we had several department heads that came in and said, I've reallocated some job responsibilities, I'd like to do this, that, and the other.
What money would we have used for that though?
You could, same as we've done with the other departments, maybe general fund, we adjusted salaries.
Yeah, and Dan's right, but I think where the sheriff's department's coming from is that because the money wasn't there at budget time, we would have said no, and then they would have been back before us, because now they have monies that we weren't privy to at the time that we made that decision.
Well, I don't think they were privy to it either.
But we didn't just, the point is, there were other departments that came in front of us and said, I need to do some, and we did do a few of those without reducing someone's salary. That would have been the time to address these. That's the point I'm making. I'm not talking about a huge amount of money here, but I mean, that is the point.
Well, I too was under the understanding, I guess misunderstanding, I thought the person that vacated this higher-end position, their duties were going to be somewhat dispersed to the others going to be receiving the salary increase.
But according to them, they've already been doing it.
Yes.
These girls over the last several years have been doing more responsibility than that they've been paid for.
That's true of a lot of people, that's true of a lot of county employees, let's be clear. That's true, but we've had some, over the last few years, there's been some, through attrition, not filling spots, we've been, department heads have been moving job responsibilities around. Newsflash, county employment doesn't pay the highest, it's the way it is. So that's true of lots of folks around the county.
I don't think we have an issue with the whole concept.
Yeah.
I got an issue with the timing of it. No disrespect to anybody, it strikes me as you promised to raise to somebody and we didn't know about it. We were allowed to vote on it.
We haven't promised.
No, we haven't promised any raise.
Okay, so if it dies, what happens?
Well, we keep the $34,282.
No, that part passes,
But
the other part doesn't.
I'm not sure what you guys want us to do.
It's in the same.
I know this is the first of the year, at least the first of the year item, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but It's not, so we could approve part not, but go ahead, yes.
The other problem is that, to throw into the discussion, is the logistical issue of, assume the request is passed as presented, without the retro. All of these take effect, those pays would change. However, in 4 weeks,
It's come back.
it's not going to be that way.
Right.
And we're not going to be, probably not addressing this at the reorg meeting. And so then we're going to be sitting here at our January meeting, whenever that would be. And again, the council would be hesitant to go retro back to the first of the year. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying here? And so, again, as part of the overall discussion, I want to, we have the end of the year logistical issue of the budget just being done and these salaries that need to be changed. We wouldn't do that until most likely that first January meeting.
Maybe the difficulty. Well, can I bring up for discussion, we're reducing the higher end salary. It was our policy, as we were going through budgets, if you were brought up, refactored, whatnot, you didn't get on top of that the raise. Could we take these 3 lower salaries with what they're requesting to bring them up to these numbers, and it wouldn't be inclusive of a raise?
So you're saying, because here's my question, and refresh my memory, and when we did some of those, did we give them the raise that we approved countywide on top of the raise that, no?
No.
I understand that.
So the net result would have been, had we addressed this at budget time, we might very well have said, and certainly would have said, yes to this, but then they wouldn't have gotten the additional raise on top of the raise.
Right. They're better.
That's what I'm suggesting.
The only reason why we didn't do this at budget time is because it wasn't.
That's what they get.
So, I mean, so here's the thing, if we, maybe what we do, I mean, we have to come back in January anyway, we can address this now, and then, I gotta tell you, we have to come back and decide whether, unless we just leave them at this, right, Scott? And they don't get the additional raise on top of the raise, then do we have to address it again in January? No, it just stays the way it is here.
Just say this way.
Isn't that correct?
Say it again.
If we pass this, and like the person that went from 26,768 goes to 28,097, and then we did nothing further, come January, that person's salary would be 28,097, because we've changed the 144, would they not then automatically get the additional raise? No.
Because our budget, our line items, our budgets are not reflective of these numbers.
So, the point is, we can pass this and not give them the additional raise.
Correct.
Next year, correct?
Correct. Because we're going to have to, if you do any affirmative action on this request, we're going to have to revisit it in January. Deal with it first.
That might be the answer. I mean, right now we have a motion second on the floor, though. So, I guess here's my question for you.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I think so.
Is there a motion? I don't believe there's a motion.
Can I
Yeah,
make
there is,
this
'cause
in the
we're-
form of a motion?
Well, before we get to that, I want to ask, here's my question for you. If we addressed it tonight, and we passed exactly what you're asking for, and then didn't address it again in January, these employees that you're giving it, we'd be giving a raise for tonight, they would not get that additional raise come January. Is that part of your request?
Just going to be fine with that.
You guys understand it?
The only reason why we didn't want to, because
Fine with me.
we're actually,
I get what you're doing, it makes sense, it makes perfect sense what you're doing, I have no problem with what you're doing, I'm just trying to figure out the timing. So I'm totally on board with what you're trying to do.
Do we have to adjust the salary ordinance tonight then to reflect it before we pass it?
Good point.
Well, you'd have to, aren't you amending the salary ordinance now? You're pulling people out of
That's
the
exactly
$1,000 raise that you're giving all of a sudden?
Scott?
But the problem is that we've passed these budgets as is for 2016 with numbers of 34,282 that we now want to be 30. And we passed a budget with a number of 23,377 that are now that we want to be 30.
So it washes.
And so what ends up happening is, that's why my point was, for the month of December, whatever we do would occur.
I know.
But then we have to spin back around in January and do it again, but the January 1, our budget line items are what they are until we change them.
So they would be better off waiting until January 1st when the salary ordinance goes into effect and they all get the raise, then come back and readjust from the new.
You're gonna
Doesn't
lose-
matter. I mean,
Otherwise, you're gonna lose your rate.
Would be 34,000, you're giving that
Yeah, no.
35,000.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean,
We're trying to...
if we passed what, our salary ordinance, the budget numbers would be the same. It's a wash, right? I mean, we're taking away from one and giving to the others. I mean, the bottom line number would be the same, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not arguing the bottom line number the bottom line number is gonna be the same. You're correct. The problem is our approved budget for 2016 had the wrong item, the wrong salary line.
So what is your suggestion, Scott? If we want what they've got in front of us, if we decide to pass what they've got in front of us, without giving them the extra raise,
Without the extra $1,000.
without the extra $1,000, what logistically is the best way to do that?
Then you would approve it tonight on that motion, and then we would have to deal with it at the reorg meeting.
And what would we have to do at the
We would
reorg?
have to do a 144 change, and that would be it.
Same thing.
Yes.
It's the same thing again.
Yeah.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve what's in front of us. There's any second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? We all understand this, right?
Yeah.
Clear as mud. Perfect. And you guys understand that, right? All right, good.
Does that,
I mean, I see what you're doing.
Is this retro? Is this going back to 11/15, or is this not January 1?
Motion?
No.
Starts tonight?
Starts tonight.
Tomorrow.
So what's you made the motion, what was the intent of your motion, Jim?
What Scott said.
The motion is what Scott said. It's part of the retro.
Recorded record.
All I'm asking for is, does your motion contemplate the retro to 11/15, or does it start tonight?
Starts tonight.
All right, does the second concur with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Rivas,
yes.
Councilmember Witten,
Yes.
Councilmember Conover, Councilmember Biggs,
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen,
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad.
Yes.
All right, so 144 is approved as presented. Did we vote on the other two yet?
No.
Then we have a motion on the first, the additional and the transfer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second? And a second, any discussion on those? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Witten,
Yes.
Councilmember Conover,
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs,
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen,
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas,
Yes.
7-0.
That's why we don't... This is happening right now.
Right.
And then January 1st, they'll come back with a 144 that illustrates the new numbers.
Can you hire someone now?
But they'll get the raises.
Salary's reduced?
Yes.
Okay, you got somebody
Okay.
that's on board and...
I think that's the sheriff.
Somebody that's coming from one of those, switchboard positions. She's getting a raise anyway, so I think by January 1, we saved the general budget $3,000, right?
Thank you.
Well done. Beautiful. All right, guys, thanks. Second reading.
Whereas it has been determined that it is not necessary to appropriate more money than what was appropriated in the annual budget. Therefore, be it ordained, resolved by the Porter County Council of Porter County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing and salary additional sums of money hereby appropriated out of the general fund for the purposes of the
No, that's all in year 144, they come January 1. We're just deciding to do it.
Operating 11.
Let's go do it. Let's go do it, because all they're doing is getting to the end of this year, and we're going to address the $1,000 raise in January. And I realize they're going to tell me to get it. Didn't you hear me say we're okay with that? Would you rather have...
They only did it. $185 less. There's a rule.
There is something.
EMA training the emergency response rate 145, training in ed 3130, $555.11. EMA citizen support 9117, other equipment $4540, $2,000. That includes second reading.
What's your pleasure on second reading?
Second.
Motion is second on the floor, any discussion? None, roll call.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes. Attorney's report.
We are working with the consultants, or I'm working with the consultants. We have a list of information that they have requested that I'm gathering from the treasurer's office. They want that information before they meet, so they can have all the information at their fingertips. I'm expecting to schedule a meeting in the next week or so with the board that you put together, or the committee you put together, to get that ball rolling, and things are moving at full speed.
And there was some discussion back and forth, my understanding, since in fact I was involved in them, with some language in the contract, kind of just a few minor tweaks that...
Right.
So, okay.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Scott?
That's all.
Let's take a 5-minute break. You're out to the restroom. Okay. Why don't we start with we'll get the proposal, and then, if the board has any questions, we'll kind of work through those and see where we're at. I understand there's been a public hearing, on this already, and, I was trying to follow the public, comments that were made at those hearings to try to get a handle on the remonstrance for and against. So at this point, why don't you, just proceed with the presentation, and we'll go from there.
Okay. As you mentioned, we did hold a public hearing with the Stormwater Management Board, and they recommended to the commissioners to adopt the ordinance. The commissioners held a public hearing and on the actual user fee ordinance and approved it. I guess to go through the presentation and everything that we have going forward, I sent everybody a packet on this, and to understand why we're having to go forward with this proposal and why we're here today. And it basically boils down from the Clean Water Act that was passed by the federal government. And they did that in 1972, and it was focused on wastewater treatment facilities. Phase 1 started off with stormwater, with cities that were 100,000 people or more to apply for a stormwater permit. 94, the report was given to Congress that stated that stormwater discharges from non-Phase 1 sources remain significant causes to water quality impairment. So in 1999, they changed it, and they had added Phase 2 entities, less than 100,000 people regulated. And a point that I'm going to be probably continuing making through this is there is no federal or state funding for this program as it came through. But it is our responsibility to meet all of these requirements that have been laid out within the Federal Clean Water Act and also the state legislation. State passed Rule 13 of the 327 Indiana Administrative Code 15-3-1 that outlines the clean water responsibilities. 22 Indiana counties were put into the Phase 2 Clean Water Act, which Porter County is one of them. Indiana Code was amended in 2004 to allow the counties to establish stormwater fees. Porter County is, as I mentioned, is one of the 22 that is regulated under Rule 13 of IDEMS. Porter County did establish the Stormwater Management Board. This was Ordinance 14-12, passed last year, and they also adopted the Stormwater Management Program. And that was Ordinance 14-15, and there was a few other ordinances that we had to pass to go along and meet this program. One was our stormwater ordinance that had water quality issues implemented into it, and another one that I'll get to, and it's called the illicit discharge on that. Stormwater Board, well, first I'm going to go through, I guess, the 6 items that we have to comply with on EPA and IDEM with this permit that we have for Phase 2. Implement a public education program to distribute materials and conduct activities to inform the public about impacts of stormwater discharges. Provide public with the opportunity to play an active role in development and implementation of the program. Detect and eliminate discharges to stormwater conveyances that are not composed of entirely stormwater. This is the illicit discharge ordinance on this. This was adopted, I believe, in 2013. We had to go through and actually define an urbanized area on this. We have done that. It's based off a census tract. However, IDEM was asking us to do it over the entire county. We kept it within just the urbanized tracts on that for right now, but they are possibly asking us and could update this where we have to do this for the entire unincorporated area of the county. Administer a permitting program that requires stormwater quality protection plan for construction activities that result in land disturbing of equal to or greater than 1 acre. This is part of the stormwater program that we have now. We are trying to implement this. I'll discuss a few things on this later. Maintain records and inspections of stormwater protection practices at complete construction sites where land disturbance was equal to or greater than 1 acre. Again, I'll get to that in a little bit. Reduce pollutants and stormwater runoff from county facilities by utilizing stormwater protection practices. On that, I do need to point out that the central garage for the highway department has gone through some significant changes on this. They've done quite a bit of work Dave Burris, County Surveyor Ken Brightsky has been doing work down there, so has Rich Hudson, our MS4 coordinator, on that. And to give you an idea, one of the requirements that they have to do is they no longer can dump sweepings. They send a street sweeper out there, or they have a Vector truck that's cleaning out catch basins, they would take it back to the yard and they would dump those items back in the yard. They can no longer do that. By the requirement that we have with the water quality, they have to put this into a dumpster and dispose of it at a landfill now. And I believe the city of Valparaiso was hit on this same item here. Now I'm gonna go through a few things here with the map. Basically showing the stormwater jurisdiction that we have on this. First off, municipalities. Those are in gray here, you see. A number of these municipalities already do have the stormwater fee in place. Valparaiso, Portage, Chesterton, and the town of Porter do have it in place right now. We, not by choice, on this, have not put a fee on any of these municipalities. We cannot do it by state statute. It's clear.
So there are municipalities that don't have a fee right now?
There are municipalities that do not have a fee on that.
Who's left? Who doesn't have a fee?
That's even down in the south and the smaller ones that are up along the lake shore. Now, I will mention that there has been discussions IDEM has been discussing the idea of bringing in all of the Lake Michigan watershed towns that are not in this program and bring them into this program, the MS4 program. So there is discussion currently going on. So with that, it would leave Hebron and Calc right now that are probably not part of this
Yeah,
discussion.
but to be clear, they would be, those smaller up in Lake Michigan, in the Lake Michigan watershed, they would be under the requirements of MS4.
Correct.
Which is different than whether they'd be paying this fee.
Correct.
So how would they pay?
They would have to figure it out like we have to figure it out.
They're going to have to set up their own program.
Community would be responsible for their own MS4 program, just like everybody else is currently. If that were to occur.
If it were to occur. Like I
So
said,
it's not a case if we pass a fee tonight as proposed, it does not affect those two municipalities.
it does not affect anything that's in gray.
Okay, go on.
Okay? With that, we have the state and federal lands. They're essentially exempt.
Click everybody that doesn't get affected.
Conservancy districts.
What's left? Let's do that, let's just cut to the chase. Click everybody that this doesn't affect, and then let's see what's left.
Conservancy districts right now we cannot go in and charge a fee on that. If they have drainage and stormwater as part of their charge, they cannot, we cannot go in and do that. One of the
Conservancy districts that do not charge for drainage?
there's only one. And that is Indian Boundary, that you see the yellow area that's on the very east side of Chesterton. Their only charge is sanitary sewer. Everything else you see in yellow has the charge of drainage.
So if they don't join, then we don't do any work for them.
Correct. Either they have to form an agreement with the commissioners, or they have to go into the courts and actually drop the charge of drainage.
Well, so let me ask you this, that's an interesting point. So, as we sit here today, how many of these conservancy districts have we formulated at least tentative agreements with? Have we done any of that yet? So, when we talk about South Haven, for example, they have a conservancy district there. How would they be affected by this, or impacted negatively or positively?
We cannot charge a fee up in South Haven.
So we can't charge a fee in South Haven. Isn't that our biggest drainage problem area?
Unless they opt in. Unless they opt in.
So if they don't opt in, we don't do the repairs in that area?
Correct.
What do we mean by opting in, and correct, you're not gonna do repairs? It's the county's responsibility to do it, but since the place was neglected for how long, they decided to tax themselves over there?
That's not necessarily true, but, I mean, that's an argument that's gone on for 30-some years in this county about South Haven, and, you know, they do charge an assessment. A special assessment in their conservancy district, but it's that one special exception handles everything within the Conservancy District. So there's probably a very small portion of that assessment that goes towards drainage. Unfortunately, because they're home rule, we don't get the breakdown, we don't see how they're breaking it down, we really don't know. Because all Conservancy Districts have a home rule provision, which means the only way that they could come into something like this is they would have to opt in. We've actually had one, I think it was White Oak, that actually we just got a court order from Judge Harper where they've relinquished their charge for storm sewer, so now they will automatically be a part of that.
Correct. Has there been any indication, I only keep talking about South Haven because it's obviously an area that has a big drainage issue.
We have sat down, and this was probably better than a year ago.
Yeah.
That we have sat down with, the large Conservancy Districts, and the ones I'm looking at is, Twin Creeks, South Haven, Valparaiso Lake Area Conservancy Districts, and also Aberdeen. And then, mainly because we do have one attorney that oversees those districts. We did also meet with Dean and Run. I would also like to point out that the reason that we didn't go and talk to those folks prior to this was we felt that it was better to sit down and have the fee passed.
Understood.
And be able to have the wherewithal to be able to sit down and negotiate.
I'm not questioning your timing. I just was trying to, I just wanted to kind of handle where we're at with them. Dean and Run, now that's an interesting one. What was the net result of that conversation? Because that seems to be nothing short of a disaster. So,
mainly, when we approached those Conservancy Districts, we were just telling them what we were looking at and what we were proposing to do. All of them were encouraging, but they all sat there and said, we were going to sit back and wait and see what happens.
Okay.
Right, we didn't want commitment and stuff. That's fine. The next layer I want to put on is what currently does pay the regulated drain fees. Chuck? Okay, these are parcels that are currently paying the regulated drain fee, or what a number of people will say, the ditch fee, yes. We are currently collecting in those areas there.
Can I ask you a question? How would this fee, and I know it's parcel by parcel, but generally speaking, how does this fee compare to what the ditch fee is in some of these areas?
Well, one of the things that we've been doing over the last 6 months is we've been running a lot of modeling on the agricultural sector because we wanted to get them even, because we feel that they were early contributors. I tell a lot of people, if you go down South County and you drive the roads down there, you'll see a pretty sophisticated and well-maintained ditch system down there. It's so close to the river.
Right.
But that was a big concern of ours from the agricultural piece. And that was one of the things as we went through this process, that was one of the original items that we did change on how we calculated the agricultural piece. We have over 150,000 acres in Porter County that's agricultural land. And so what we did, to answer your question, we did a lot of modeling to make sure that we were coming in at about the same thing what the ditch tax fee went for. The problem with that, though, is that over the 100 regulated drains that we have, and they all have separate ditch fee accounts.
Right.
They're all charged different rates based on the complexity of the ditch that we're talking about. So where you'll have a Reeves ditch down in Couts, where it's a pretty big ditch and carries a lot of water, you might have another ditch that is a smaller ditch and doesn't carry much water and doesn't need as much maintenance. So it was really hard to model, to try and come up with an even scenario for everybody, but a lot of that was, I think we're moving from something that's pretty complex to trying to move something along something that's a little bit easier to interpret. But that was our main goal when we did this, was to make sure that we did not penalize the early adopters that sort of paved the way for us to show us how to run a ditch program in South County.
I saw the Farm Bureau was endorsing this, so apparently they were happy from the farmer's perspective. Okay, go on, Rod.
Next, I would like to go in and, a number of you know, in 2010, the county went forward and we did a comprehensive drainage plan with this. And this was for the unincorporated areas, and we blacked out the municipalities. What you're looking at here is a map that shows all the areas that reported drainage problems, flooding problems. This was developed by our consultants. We had DOZ doing the Lake Michigan watershed and SEH doing the Kankakee River watershed, and they held a number of public hearings on this. Yes, and they also sent out questionnaires to all of the citizens in the unincorporated area. We did have a really good response from the questionnaire. I have over 10 large, thick binders full of these return questionnaires on this. What we did is we mapped out all the problems that came about either from the questionnaires or from the public hearing where the citizens were able to go up to their areas and point it out. And I also want to show something else. From that, what the consultants developed was a top 10 list where we did further studies. It was the Dana Run watershed, the Ludington Ditch, Dog Lake Ditch, a number of them, we had 10 of them total that we went and did further studies on that. From that, we were developed on 9 of those top 10. They developed a cost estimate to be able to complete the work that needs to be done. We are looking at $5 to $10 million possibly in work that needs to be done in these areas. Next item I wanted to bring up is the drain fee parcels. There you can get a relationship to see where the complaints are coming from with the flooding as with the drain fee. I should also, and I meant to point this out on the other map that was shown up, and I apologize, the green area that you're seeing back in the background pays no fee. Okay. So with this, I wanted to show that we have a number of complaints, and we do have a number of the top 10 areas in the area that right now is not charged a fee for drainage. What is this fee going to be used for? I know that question came up on it, was capital improvements, new infrastructure. In older subdivisions or sections of Porter County that require upgrades to existing infrastructure, new county infrastructure for drainage, floodway improvements, maintenance, including maintenance of existing storm systems, maintenance of future systems, maintenance of the Kankakee River, upgrade and maintenance of all county infrastructure, compliance, MS4, those 6 measures again, compliance with stormwater quality management plan that we have, education and outreach that we're required and we have to do, and we have to put in an annual report to show that we're doing, construction site erosion control, plan review and site inspections with that, development of infrastructure inspections during construction of proposals, something we do not have right now. I do the inspections after they tell me the development is done, and I basically walk and ask for as-bills. But as far as for seeing anything that's going into the ground for real compliance, we do not have anything or inspections for that at all. Post-construction development, water quality evaluation, county operations and management, and program management. We did work up a preliminary budget on this just to get us an idea. It's a draft. Again, I emphasize draft on this because we know very well if this fee is adopted that we will be back in front of the county council to work on this particular budget. And on that, we do have, I know I was asked a question on that, the administration costs on that, and I came out with a number of $700,000. It's off of a draft budget, and it's proposed. If you got questions on that, I'd be more than happy to explain that one, and the reasons behind that. But within that administration, some of the things that we are looking at is we need an engineer, one that is professional, licensed within the state of Indiana, an inspector, as I mentioned. Some of these items that we have to do with the water quality inspections after a storm, going out and inspection the construction sites, we don't have an inspector. We're requiring the developers to do the reports right now, which they're required to do as part of their permitting for Rule 5 on that, but we're supposed to also follow up and look to make sure that they're doing this reporting. We don't have this. We don't have an inspector that's going out there on the job site on a daily basis to make sure that they're putting in a 24-inch concrete pipe with the proper bedding as required by our county specifications The engineer would be reviewing these plans, also going forward programs. The MS4 coordinator is a position that we need within that item. I did put in a GIS CAD tech on that within the budget, and the reason is because if we do in-house projects, we gotta have a way to develop the plans.
Oh, we already have that?
We do in the surveyor's office.
And?
We could use the surveyor's office for that. That's not a problem. That's a position that could be scratched.
Okay, go on, Bob.
With that, I guess to briefly explain what we have with the actual fee and what we're proposing on that, residential homes, the average residential home in the county would pay $10 per month or $120 per year. Single-family and two-family residential will be the $10 per month, and we do have a scale on that based on acreage. The fees that we have on that and how we came about with that is we use the property class codes that they have through the assessors. It's set by state. And their numbers of 100 for agricultural, 500 for residential. This is how we set up the fee on that, and it is included within the appendix within the ordinance. Billing for the fee will be within the property tax and will be invoiced twice per year. Multiple family residential mobile home parks will be billed at $350 per unit or $42 per unit. Commercial, $17.50 per month or $210 per year for the first 20 acres. Industrial, $18.75 per month or $225 per month, or $225 per year for the first 20 acres. Agricultural lands are billed at an acreage rate of $2.75 per acre or 23 cents per acre per month. Or I should say $2.75 per acre per year, excuse me. Again, to emphasize the Stormwater Board's jurisdiction, it's the unincorporated area of the county excluding the conservancy districts if they have the charge for drainage. Stormwater Board does consist of the 3 commissioners and the county surveyor by state law. We do have the ordinance in place for that, 14-12. We mentioned this, the conservancy districts may join the program. They have to have an agreement with this or drop their charge of drainage through the courts. And one of the important things I really do need to mention here is that crosshatched area with the regulated drain fee. If this fee is approved, starting January 1st, the regulated drain fee goes away. Or we will request the Drainage Board to remove the drainage fee.
Speaking of that, are you going to retain the Drainage Board as an advisory role? I heard that was kicked around.
We were discussing that and looking at that. One of the items with that is, obviously, the Drainage Board does have a number of different accounts in their watersheds, whether it's a subdivision or it's a particular watershed, and there is monies in those. We were talking about the idea of keeping the Drainage Board around as an advisory for the improvements that will be done on that and working those ditch funds down to zero.
If there's not enough to do the work, was it contemplated using this fee if it passes to supplement ditch X, do the work and get rid of it, clean the books up? You got 100 different accounts to keep track of, don't you?
Correct. Yeah,
Which we can't.
what will happen is, if this is passed on the 1st of January, the ditch fee tax will go away, but all of the monies in those
Right.
separate ditch fees will be frozen.
Right.
And there's only money that can be used for that ditch. And when it's paid out to zero, that ditch fund
But
goes
if there's not enough money to do the work,
well, if there's not enough money to do the work, if, let's say, there's $25,000 left in Reed's ditch and we got a $40,000 problem, we'll drain down to 20 and we'll use the other.
right, you're gonna supplement, right.
And then we're all on the same program.
Yep, okay. I mean, the Drainage Board has a lot of history.
Oh,
May not want to.
institutional knowledge.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, we've got the proposal in front of us. Let's get to any other questions of the board.
Well, I'd just like to start by saying I remember the 2010 comprehensive study. Those numbers were staggering. And I remember, but I've slept since then, about 20 million in serious problems and potential problems. And if we don't do something now, I think Commissioner Good mentioned, we're gonna have other problems pop up and creep up down the road.
Correct.
And I just kind of think it's, and I'm saying that we have state and federal mandates, kind of local government's responsibility to take care of our overage of stormwater. I just philosophically believe, and I've been paying a stormwater fee in my incorporation for, say about 10 years now. And we can't just be throwing a little piece of money from this pot and a little piece of money from that pot to get anything meaningful done and to improve our quality of life here. We've been talking about this for 5 years. I think it's time we act.
I mean, mandates aside, we could talk about those all night long. They are what they are. But, I mean, we truly have a problem here in the county that's been in the making for over 100 years. And my hat's off to you, Commissioner Good and Commissioner Blaney and Mr. Thompson. Bob. Can I call him Bob? Jim. Jim. That finally, we're going to approach it in a way that where the taxpayers that have obtained this ditch tax all these years, I mean, they're going to finally see some real results. Because it's only going to grow in its size if we don't do something of this size and scope. Nobody wants to raise a fee or taxes, nobody. There's not a person sitting up here who wouldn't rather do something else, but big boys and girls make big decisions, and tonight's a big one. So, motion to approve.
Second. There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Sorry.
No, hold on, Sylvia. Now we get to the discussion. Sylvia, go ahead.
First of all, I have several questions.
This is the
And I
time.
think that there's people in the room that would have liked to talk, but we've decided that it's not an open meeting, so,
We didn't decide, that's statutory, it's not a public hearing.
oh, that's unfortunate, because,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to speak in behalf of the Port Cottage Soil Water Customers.
Hold on, sure. Well, hold on one
If I
second.
could do that.
Yeah, hold on one second. So,
I would like
finish
to
up.
know, I was reading, what does this mean about maintaining the Kankakee River Basin? Don't we have something already set up that is doing that?
They still do work down there with the drainage. The drainage board still does work down there.
But
And
we're not in charge of it.
Kevin, do you?
The River Basin Commission is given an equal amount by the 8 member counties. We contribute 5,500. We get many times that back.
That's right.
With grants or state monies. We cannot count on state monies in the future. And we're finding out about other issues such as this unfunded mandate. So this is a reasonable approach to do additional work and to cover our responsibilities of maintaining, which partly our river. We're responsible for the river along our entire south edge.
I just see that as being risky. That's just my opinion. But we're going to be developing a $750,000 department. Is it all going to be in this building?
Yes.
It will, okay.
At least what you saw with the proposed budget, or what I had originally done with the proposed budget, yes.
What does that mean? Is there some thought to not? I mean,
Right now, it is staffed with people that, what we're doing is looking at putting this up in the third floor, putting this all into an umbrella, basically calling it the County Development and Project area, where everything would be in there, and there would be different divisions on that, one being stormwater, planning, building, GIS, and redevelopment commission out of there.
okay.
Trying to create a central area where all these entities that work together and have to work across departments are all under one roof. So we think the cohesiveness and the communication will be better from that perspective.
All under this.
It's better for the taxpayers too, it's one
So,
shot.
hold on, Sylvia.
Also, is there a reason, it was mentioned to me tonight that a person was wondering about why it wasn't called a tax, because they can take it off of their on their income taxes, they could file for, somehow file to get it back. And now it's being called a fee.
Because state statute specifically refers to it as a stormwater user fee.
Okay, I just was, I did mention that, I thought I would ask.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed in here, in your fees, that it says, basically it was saying that non-residential developed properties that are utilized by two or more businesses shall be a single billing. I'm thinking of strip malls, isn't that what that would be?
Correct.
And they're gonna be paying $120.
Correct, and lots of times in those strip malls, in that situation, I can think of Summerlin, US 6, where somebody basically set up 3 or 4 buildings and rented out maybe 4 units in each one of those buildings. It's kind of a condominium type situation as far as that goes. But there is a landowner over that. The landowner in that situation would be the one that would receive the bill, and how they want to go about distributing.
Okay, another question I have is,
But she also asked you whether or not they were gonna pay $120 for that commercial development for that one piece of property.
It's just gonna be for that one piece of property. It's not gonna,
What would the fee be for the commercial property? The same as the residential?
no, I'm sorry. But, commercial, in that situation, would be billed $1,750 per month for $210.
okay, so there would be more money coming out of that strip mall?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Now, did UMLaw do a study for us?
They did a number of studies for us, yes.
And was that released to the public?
No, it was never released to the public because of the reason being is the Stormwater Management Board never adopted one of those studies. We had, I'm going to say, 10 different scenarios ahead.
Okay.
And with that, since the Stormwater Board never did adopt one, I didn't know which one to give out. And I did not want to give out all 10 because then there's plenty of reasons for people to start speculation. I never did know which one we were going to go with.
Who paid for those studies?
Commissioners.
So it should be public record, right?
If they want to come in and see it.
Now, so it is available if people want to come in?
If people want to come in and see it, I can show them which one.
Didn't adopt them.
We just have not adopted one.
I noticed
Thanks
that,
for, I don't know.
To actually look at, we ran a number of scenarios as far as looking at fees. Modeling is what it is.
Okay, Sylvia, go on.
okay, I was, noticing that after 4 years, this fee could be raised. Is that
Could be.
correct?
The whole idea with that is to freeze it for 4 years.
And, I think a lot of people are questioning, the idea that some people have conservancy districts and some people feel as if their property actually catches water in that. And I did notice in here that you do have some type of a board that they can appeal to.
Correct.
And hopefully that will be considered,
Sylvia?
Part of the ordinance. Yes, part of the actual ordinance.
to be.
We have to.
Real quickly, if there was any consideration 4 years from now to raise it, it has to go through this process all over again.
Okay.
So it's not a case of their board or someone on their board deciding it.
Maybe the idea was to bring some comfort to the idea that it's frozen for 4 years. I think that's the idea, but go ahead, Sylvia.
And we still have oversight on the budget, correct?
Correct.
Go on, Sylvia.
I would also, like to know how you're going to work, the cities and that are doing their thing, whatever. And I noticed that it said in here, we'll work closely with cities and that. And, what exactly is the plan there?
Isn't it being done to a great extent right now?
Yes, we are. I mean, currently, I am sitting down with the city of Portage talking about future plans they have for issues of flooding that are coming from the unincorporated area into the city of Portage. I was invited up to meet their consultants and the city staff. We've also worked with the city of Valparaiso on items. One of the things we've done as far as the education process that we have to go through and a number of things, yeah, we're all gonna be on board on that, because then we can write it off on our annual report that we were together. I mean, it looks good.
And in that, in the people that you were gonna hire, that I'm sure would take an educator too. Is that, you thinking about that, or who's gonna do that?
I did not put that position in. The whole thought is to have the MS4 coordinator looking at, and maybe partner with
Okay.
other departments. Currently, we have solid waste that has done some of the education programs for us. Some of the outreach that we have done to builders and developers that we're required to do, and other items, I've gone with the MS4 director myself and done that. Also to other events, realtors invited us out.
So all of it is going to be here then?
Correct.
Okay. And you said the GIS, because you have one, that could be scratched? That position for GIS?
GIS/CAD Tech, yes. We currently have a GIS person sitting right there, Chuck Miller.
I recognize him.
Chuck is the one who's done up all of our maps here that you're seeing tonight.
I thought Vicki hired him.
That's
Very good man.
whole budget
Very nice.
discussion there. I would also like to point out, with regards to the question of the cities and towns, it seems it's gotten a lot of press, and I can't quite understand why, at least from a statutory standpoint, it's irrelevant. But the other side of it is, I sit on the Storm Drainage Board, and I have for 10 months that I've been here. And I come to these meetings once a month. And if someone is developing something in the city of Valparaiso, and the Riley Auto Parts on Calumet that was just recently put up, there's a ditch that goes through that property, which is a regulated ditch. They had to come before the county, our board, and we had to approve the release rates and what the water is that goes into that system. We also recently just worked with the city of Valparaiso on their new school system, which is also dumping into another unregulated drain, which had no fee to it. We ended up working out an agreement with our board to where the school district is gonna pay for half of that drainage work, and the drainage board is gonna pick up the other half of that work. So we are working together with the cities and towns.
Which is very necessary.
Well, it is very necessary, and it's an integral component to this. My only point that I was trying to mention, Councilwoman Graham, is that these meetings are taking place. This is happening. This is a part of our government now. And so, they're not very well-attended meetings, because drainage isn't really a big issue for a lot of people. But I can tell you from my perspective, you know, we've got our handle on it, and a lot of the gentlemen that Robert Paparad, Councilman Paparad, talked to us about, I gave you your due, at the end of the year, Robert. You know, we have a lot of institutional knowledge on that board, and they watch that very closely, so.
Okay. I'm sorry I'm asking so many
No,
questions.
you're fine, you're fine. I just hope we got the right answers for you, that's...
Also, it's mentioned something about, I don't know what item it was under, but it says, other activities that are reasonably required to manage and operate stormwater. Is that what you're talking about? Working with the, cities and towns.
Well, that's really in addition to, we're already doing that. The other 7 issues that we talked about, the 7 items we talked about, are additional.
No, I see, you know, are you gonna set up their own billing? Are we set up to handle all this the first of the year? Is Lau ready to take on this whole system?
No, right now, no.
And what have they,
But,
have they been
My
approached?
hope is that if you, yes, we have already started some very initial discussions. We didn't want to get too far into it because we weren't sure if this was going to be approved. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be an easy press a button and all tax bills get populated. We'll probably have to do a lot of manual entry, and that's going to be time consuming. But my hope is that by starting early enough, and we are going to take advantage of the offer from the Plan Commission to help us with this, my hope is that we'll get this on the tax bills and they'll be accurate. But right now, no, we're not set up.
It just seems, everybody, like Jim said, there's not one person sitting up here that doesn't know that this is necessary. But it just seems like we've been talking about it for years, and now it's culminating now at this very, in December, and let's not kid ourselves, we are raising taxes here. And it's not going to be comfortable for a lot of people who are on fixed incomes and live in, small homes and are actually, I can think of 2 or 3 of them that I have talked to over the years that really have a hard time just managing what they've got. And I think I mentioned it to our lawyer, that, what's gonna happen with these people that really can hardly make it now to have another additional $120 put on them, which doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but it is to them. And possibly, losing their property. I just wanna mention that.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments?
With the Conservancy District up there, the area that I represent, well, I don't know if I do, you guys drew me out of some of that park, but that's a whole other story. Unusual.
There you go.
Again, the opt-in, I guess my question is, what's the opt-in? Because I know we're already partnering, Twin Creeks has been partnering with the county for some time. They've been taxing themselves for 15 years. I mean, they don't raise a whole lot of money, 160, maybe $1,000 a year. They spent a couple million taxing themselves because nobody else was fixing the problem as it grew, right? So, I don't know what the opt-in is. I mean, they're gonna continue, and I think the county, there's some serious problems out there, and I'm glad we're moving forward at this time. But I guess the opt-in, I don't know, I felt as if earlier there was an ultimatum almost, if they don't go, we're gonna move past the $10 to $20 million problem over here if they don't.
There's no ultimatums because they're under the provision of home rule. This is their decision. This isn't our decision, this is their decision. So,
I don't think you can spend this fee in a conservative district that doesn't participate.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, so, the water that's coming out of Hebron and Couch, does water have boundaries? I don't understand. So
No,
we're
they have
spending it
boundaries.
around the areas, but we're affected by the water in some areas. I mean, so,
And in that situation, I guess we send a lot of water down to Hebron and Counts.
we just direct it, we flow the water that direction?
That's Well, I don't know, one at a time.
In all seriousness,
Jim, but I wanna get an answer to his question. So,
thank you,
do you have an answer to his question?
As far as,
The opt-in, the whole part of the opt-in, I mean, I don't understand what that, I mean, I was hoping that the conversations were far along with these different conservancy districts. I don't know if I agree with the approach to implement a new fee without having a pretty in-depth conversations on how this thing's moving forward.
Well, I can shed a little light on that. I was involved a couple of years ago in some of those conversations, and frankly, what some of those conservancy districts told us was, you guys have been talking about a stormwater fee for 5 years. When you finally do one, we're more than willing to sit down and talk about how to fix the problem. But until then, we don't know what to talk about because we don't know if you guys are actually going to do it. My experience in talking to the Conservancy District representatives wasn't one of, we don't want to be involved and we don't want to partner. It was, when you guys finally get yourselves in a position to do this, come talk to us, we're more than willing to sit down and do it, but frankly, until then, we've got to keep, plugging along. And I'm not sure it's an ultimatum, it's not something, that I think the county is saying, unilaterally deciding that we can't or won't. It boils down to, just like we're not going to go into the middle of Valpo and do a stormwater project because they've got their own situation going. This is basically going to be going to the Conservancy District and saying, we're now in a position to be a full partner, how do you want to handle it?
if you look at the figures and what the Twin Creeks Conservancy District in South Haven is collecting annually as compared to what we're talking about here, if they were to opt in, it is clearly in South Haven, is that New South Haven, or
Conservancy District.
to their best interest to opt in. They're collecting, I think, as you pointed out, Jeremy, it was something in the neighborhood of $160,000 a year, which, it's a little more than dusting off their stormwater covers. It's just not enough. And you just drive through there in a storm, you can see it's not enough, and that's been around for 12, 14 years. So, this is, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but this is a very aggressive approach, one that is way overdue. We've been talking about it forever, and it just has to be done. And,
Okay, any other questions?
I'm sorry, I have one more. What is going to happen with Hebron and Couts? Because Hebron does have, I know they've got a lot of problems down there with,
Well, most of the problems are on the outskirts of Hebron, which are in the unincorporated area. And we've been doing a lot of work down there already. So, they will get this need because they are in that unincorporated area. Right now, I don't think that IDEM has really figured out, and I've noticed being up here, just emails going back and forth, I don't think that IDEM has really figured out what they're going to do with the smaller communities yet. And I think that we're sort of waiting for the other hammer to fall to see what they come out with on a rule. So this is still fluid. If the town of Counts and the town of Hebron don't want to go out and hire an MS4 coordinator, don't want to hire an engineer, and don't want to do this, this might be an additional service that the county can provide to those smaller towns, too. So, it's still a little bit fluid, and there's still some things that are unknown yet, and that's from a state perspective.
Any other questions? Yes. What, Bob? Yes, we'll get to that in a second. Any other questions from the board?
Just going back to the study that was done in 2010, I mean, have we done anything to kind of continue to update that and see where things are at with costs? And, I mean, are we gonna, if this is implemented, are we going right back to that study, maybe with a little update and start hitting, and then with that being said, what is the plan, and maybe I missed it, are we gonna bond, how much is the bonding capacity of this? Are we bonding X amount of dollars? Are we gonna, okay with that bond, we're gonna pick the phone up and talk to South Haven, area number one, to increase the Service District, because we believe we can bond this much and we can start hitting, this amount over there, our number 2, number 3, number 4 areas that were in the study. We can pick off number 5 with our bonding capacity with this fee. I mean, where are we going with this?
That study is gonna be our roadmap for how we launch this new district. And there's we always talk about the top 10, but there were over 1,500 issues in this county that were identified in that study. Right. So there's plenty of work to do. There's plenty, it's going to take time for engineering to get done. There's going to take some time to get going. As far as bonding goes, based on the revenue that we're going to have, and once we start, getting back into this and getting it fired up, I'm going to be a little bit, from my personal perspective, I want to be a little bit more reserved on bonding. It does give you a large amount of money in one type of thing, but in the same breath, you're also paying for interest and you're paying for the cost of that bond. So, from my perspective, I want to start this off slowly, gradually. Obviously, we want to get the work started right away, but this is going to be a new thing for us, and we're going to have to work through it. But I also don't want to be in a situation where we're overextending ourselves by bonding. I don't see that the way out of it. We have to resolve the issues, we have to solve them, and then we have to go out and put it into place. And it's
without making expensive mistakes.
Without making expensive mistakes. And this is going to be very measured as we go out. So, hope I answered your question, Councilman.
Any other questions? All right, let's have a...
Well, at our last soil board meeting, which was after the public hearing, we had lengthy discussion on this proposal. And we went back and forth, pros and cons, and the consensus was that we believe this is a better balanced and a good approach to acquiring the money to take care of our drainage and water clean in the county. We had a couple issues that we kind of wanted to address, and one of them was the landowners that have this wetland reserve program. It's a federal program, I don't know if you're aware of it, but you actually sell an easement to the federal government, and part of it's got to be farmland. It can't just be woods and swamps. But anyway, you can sign up either for forever, perpetual, or for 30 years.
Right.
And we kind of thought that maybe this land should be exempted from this fee because of the very nature of it. It's water storage, it's wildlife habitat. It can never be any income made off of it, other than maybe some honey or something.
It seems reasonable.
Is that a lot?
There's about 1,300 acres right now.
It seems reasonable.
That's in it. So this is something that we didn't hear discussed, but that's something that our board brought up. And the other issue was that in these positions you talked about, there's a state statute that charges the soil and water conservation districts to review these Rule 5 plans under construction stuff. And we just wanted to reiterate, don't leave us out on that we have a technician that does this and our administrator can also do this.
Talking about Mr. Nix, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Harvey,
Who sits on our drainage board.
So, we just wanted to...
Harvey, if they did that, Sylvia would be all over them.
What are you talking about?
Well, I guess...
She won't let them forget.
So, that was the main thing, but basically the board, they think this is the way to go.
Oh, good.
We've seen the struggles over the years, trying to get money
Yep.
in these different ditches.
Yep.
And everybody should, be able to finish.
So we're gonna have another layer with soil and water?
The soil and water,
Well, they gotta review it.
they are correct. Within our stormwater program that we do have with the ordinance in place, essentially, they're the ones that have to send the permit, I believe, down to the state. We do have our MS4 coordinator that works with them and reviews it, and then the actual notice of intent and everything is sent down.
Your one-stop shopping's not gonna work unless you incorporate them upstairs.
We will do all the initial reviews, and that is just sent out electronically over. Mr. Nix is included in all of our emails that come out with any development that it does come in. So they used to, in the process, have to take all of the plans and everything over to the Soil and Water Conservation Districts. We stopped that. We did stop that. It all comes to the Plan Commission, and we distribute it, and then we get comments back. And in this particular case, though, I believe it is Mr. Nix or the Soil and Water Conservation District that has to send the actual permit down to IDEM.
So they will be part of that.
They are part of it, and it is by ordinance that we have it.
That's all I had to say.
Their budget will go up.
Thank you.
There you go, Harvey.
Their budget will go up.
Oh, it's not Harvey, I'm sorry.
Harvey Nix is the Soil and Water Conservation member on it.
Nice little embarrassing, Jim.
Would you like to answer his one question? Would you like me to answer his other
Yes.
question about the
Go ahead.
funds reserve?
Yes, go ahead.
We've had a number of people come in and say they want to be exempt from this fee. The way it is set up and the way we're going about it with the classification code, we cannot exempt. However, it doesn't stop them from coming in and appealing. In this situation, if the farmer does have wetlands reserve in, and then you have a 40-acre parcel and 20 of it is in wetlands reserve, come in, show us the documentation, somebody will go out and inspect it, look at it, make sure that it is correct, and then, yeah, we can go back and discuss it. Instead of being 40 acres, charge the per acre fee, we knock it down to 20.
So that would occur like with Isaac Walton stuff too, they could...
Isaac Walton, yes, I know they've come in and they stood at the public hearings and they want to be exempt for all of their parcels. What we have in there is proof to us that you are doing something to assist us and help with the water quality and that, and then we can start talking about what the actual...
We're talking two different things here. What Mr. Yeah, well, we're talking about stormwater retention, and this other thing is two totally different.
We just want the applicant to make their case, come forward. We're going to try to make sure that we don't make it so complicated and they have to hire engineers and create more money for all this. We want to make it an appeal process, but we're going to have to do a much deeper dive on each parcel to make sure that, you know, there isn't a contribution to this. So it's got to be checks and balances.
I got a question, on your conservation, the federal program, do they pay property taxes on that land?
It's assessed at $1 an acre. It's a tax reduction. Basically, the federal government stuff is gold. They come out and inspect it every year. You're still...
It's $1 an acre or just $1 across the board?
$1 an acre.
$1 an acre.
There's your answer.
Yep.
If they qualify for that, they get exempt. Keep it simple.
But there's also other things that go along with that. You have people that have that same type of ground and they're saying it's agricultural. Well, we have to work through the zoning classification. If it's in perpetual for life, you zone it and make it parks. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go into this too from a
But
zoning.
you have an appeal process.
Correct.
Right, that's all that's important.
Yeah.
They gotta wait to get through it. And I'll call the question, Dan.
Well,
I have a question.
no, hold on a minute. Oh, Jeremy.
You beat this horse to death.
Well, it's not an easy decision. I mean, Sylvia said, taking more money out of anybody's pocket is not an easy decision, so I'm not all that in a huge rush to just hurry up and make that decision. You said you're not in a hurry to bond, and get any big projects done, but I guess on the other side of that, if it's gonna raise $3.5 million, and we're looking at spending $700,000 to $750,000 on administration costs.
Yeah.
20% of that money, that's less money that's going out into the ditches, less money that's going
That's right.
in improving the infrastructure. Now, I don't know, I'm just not so interested in chasing mandates and doing more studies either. You just did 10 studies, and they sit on a shelf nobody has access to, and nobody cares to use. So, I want this money going into the infrastructure of this county. And we've already got, what are we gonna do we got Mr. Hudson, he does MS4 now, is he gonna be rolled into this? Is he gonna be the MS4 coordinator?
No longer, that's contractual, and it's taken out of CETA funding right now, that will be rolled over into this program.
And, Professor Burris, where's he moving to? Is he gonna be part of
He would, since he's seated contractual to do drainage, he would be contractual under the stormwater.
So is that another one, or is that an engineer, an inspector, an MS4? Where's he
Yeah, we
falling?
went through a lot of this on the CEDAT budget when we talked last month, of some of the people that were moving over. Yeah, if you're concerned with the budget, like I also mentioned, this is a draft, it's preliminary, and I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk with any council members, and I'll,
What's going on? You guys
explain
have
it.
questions?
Well, I just, you mentioned the engineer, the inspector, the coordinator, the pad tech, but obviously, I think Professor Burris would probably stay on here too, because has hands in this for a long time, and has a lot of knowledge of this county and its drainage issues, so I don't know, is that then the fifth, the sixth employee, again?
Part of that budget too is $100,000 an hourly. The whole intention was is, if we pull on the highway department to use an excavator, or use their vac truck, or anything, we gotta pay them. Do you want that to come out of the right-of-way funding, and the gas tax money, or do you want us to pay them for drainage work? So that's where the $100,000 with hourly is. I can easily remove that from that preliminary draft budget you saw, and come in front of you all on a case-by-case basis to explain why we're having to pay the excavator or give money over to the highway department. I'd be more than happy to do that.
You do have right-of-way money, though. Isn't there quite a bit in there?
The question is if they're off of the right-of-way, and they're doing drainage work for us and something like that, we should be paying them. And that's the whole intention with that hourly thing, is to give the money over to the highway department, because we gotta pay for their hourly, the employee, and we also have to pay for that use of that equipment that they have, whether it's an excavator or a dump truck.
Well, 750 isn't a solid figure, is that?
No. It was done, we'll be working with this board. If this fee is approved, we will be putting that together, and we will be coming before this board, and we will be having that discussion again as well. But, so there will be oversight. Yes, I'll be more than happy to sit down with anybody when we're developing
Any
this.
other questions or concerns at this time? There's a motion, a second on the floor. Any other questions?
As with any budget that is in county government, it has to pass through this board before any dollar is spent.
Yeah, we get that. I don't know, I'm not sure. Well, I think you may be right, actually. Yes.
I heard the mention of some of the, Isaac Walton, some of these groups. Unlike the soil conservation legislation, there are at least a half a dozen nonprofit organizations outside of incorporated Porter County, whose mission includes protecting and reducing stormwater, and they've been working on stormwater management, some for 10, 20, 30 years. The Isaac Walton is one of them. There's also Shelley Hines Land Trust, Save the Dunes Council, Woodland Savannah Land Conservancy, the Kankakee River Organization. Those organizations don't just own some parking lots and some offices. They own open space which consists primarily of woods, wetlands, wooded wetlands, and their function has been to filter stormwater, to reduce stormwater, to retain stormwater. Their lands act as a reservoir. They reduce both biological and chemical pollution. They also act as a sponge and slow down stormwater and reduce erosion. And I understand Commissioner Good mentioned there may be an appeal process, but that adds an extra step or barrier that those organizations would go through. They have already been working hard as nonprofits trying to reduce and solve these problems over the years, and I would think that there should be some sort of a process, whether you call it an exemption. I think to call it an appeal suggests that they're going to have to go through extra work, and maybe they would not have to go through severe engineering studies, but there's then a hindrance or a problem for them. They've already been doing these things without cost, and I would suggest that they be rewarded in some way, whether it be through an exemption or some process whereby those nonprofits whose mission has been to reduce stormwater are dealt with.
I want to ask a question. Well, does the Isaac Walton get a tax bill on their land, or does Shirley Hines Trust? Go ahead. Is that what, yes or no?
Yes, but we are tax exempt.
Do you get a tax bill?
Yes,
But you don't pay taxes?
we are tax exempt, yes.
That's not, you get a tax bill of zero?
Yes.
Well, there's your answer. You're not going to get a tax bill. You can't put the fee on somebody that doesn't get a tax bill.
We get the bill, and in some conservative districts, we aren't exempt, we are charged some of those fees.
Well, that's conservative districts we can't talk about. We can't control that.
But it's like a fee that you pay to a conservancy district. I mean...
Okay, next, because this isn't a property tax we're talking about here. And with this board, I understand you make some good points. This board cannot exempt anyone. This board decides whether or not a fee is going to be invoked, and it is that board who decides what process, if any, is laid out to address those situations like yours, as to whether they get taxed or they don't get taxed.
Any other thoughts? Yeah.
My question is, not only are nonprofit organizations, and the WRPs and CRPs, they sort of go hand in hand, the same thing. And when you go through, as a private landowner, I put 100 acres into it. In the process of it is, you have to establish a plan. You work hand in hand with the government to establish this plan. And the whole plan is meant for water clarity, as Walt explains. It acts as a sponge. In other words, it solves all the problems in a natural manner that a lot of stormwater plans are doing, artificial in a sense. If you understand what I mean. They might have. So, also private landowners, they also then would be able to petition, because we took this property out of production, we were making an income. And when we put it into the valley, we lost that ability. And then part of it is the state has fees that reduces your property taxes. But you're not getting the income, but then you're adding another income for us. Hopefully, what we're trying to do is just solve the problem of water. But I mean, as far as agricultural property, they make a profit. We've lost that ability. And so that's what we feel that we should be charged for something when we're solving these problems.
Right. Yeah, there is a process by which you can petition that. Anything else? Yeah.
I'm Jim Sweeney, I'm president of the Porter County chapter of the Isaac Walton. I personally don't have a problem with a stormwater review system. And I'm not going to, John and Walt have already made very good points of why we think that our land should be exempted. What we're interested in is something that's fair and equitable. We are going to be, like they both said, holding water, and the water that does come off our property is going to be clean. It'll be cleaner than it was when it hit that property. That's what wetlands do. So I just wanted to make it part of the record. I think this conversation is probably going to go on for a few years until this thing gets home. But I just want to make sure that you all recognize the value that open space and level have, and they can be a very important part of the solution to stormwater problems.
Anything else? Thank you. Yep, Ed?
I want to thank you for sitting here a little longer and listening to us. But I'm a member of the Drainage Board, and I'm like Jeff. This has been important. We need this. The only problem I have is with the way it's put out to the residential people or the others. It's all in a unit system. I call it a block system, okay? It makes it a little easier for me to understand. If you have a person on 1 acre and another person on 9.99 acres, that's slightly under 10, but there's a big difference there. There's a difference, to me, probably in what's on that ground. In other words, this past week, the wife and I got a flyer from some realtor at White Thorn. The house is on just a little under 2 acres. It has 5 bedrooms, 6 baths, went all through it, how big it was, 3-car garage, swimming pool, and everything else.
Sounds like my kind of house.
It's up for sale, so you can get it. The thing is, what I'm trying to point out...
We don't want them living up there by us.
If someone has a house that's only worth $150,000 with less amenities on it, you're paying the same.
Right.
And the hard surfaces or the impervious surface on those lots are much different.
Right.
So, in my estimation, and it's only my estimation, I have went to the assessor's office, got a printout of the wife and I's house. It's got everything on that printout, and what we have, and how it's put on the property, and what it is made of. So it seems to me that it would be a little better than having a block system or a unit system, something tied to the value, which may also indicate that person's income ability and what they can pay and what they can't pay. There's something there. I know we need something.
You're starting to sound like a Democrat, and I like that.
Well, I'm a Muslim, if you want to know. Because I do. All I want to do, my intention is to be fair to everybody. And I've had people call me, they know I'm on the Drainage Board, they want this explained to them, and they tell me their problems, and this is one of the problems. And I think it's a real problem. We should understand what's going on.
Right.
With this, and I know we need to get the work done. The other thing I just want to point out is something to be maybe proactive than reactive, and that is, if you look at the map, yes, Porter County's changing from agricultural to suburban. We're getting more subdivisions, towns are growing, more pervious surfaces, more water, and we sit on the board, and we've had one big development right out here on the other side of 49, 143 some acres, farm ground. The person that owned it was paying a ditch fee. They come to us with the developer comes to us with a plan and it looks good, he's got it all figured out. But the ditch fee is gone, the county has lost their revenue. So I think there ought to be something mitigated with the developer, same as easements are made plain and they pass from owner to owner. They should be paying a little something to the county for that amount of water to go down, because I've had friends and farmers down at south end of the county saying we had a big rain, but we weren't flooded. And then 4 or 5 hours later, the deluge comes down and our land's covered. So this is where it's coming from. I just want to be fair and see the board be fair
Right.
with this type of thing. And I thank you for letting.
Thanks, Ed, appreciate the thoughts. Okay, anything else? Back there.
You've already addressed that, Walton, thank you.
Yeah.
I know that we said.
Yes.
I just want to reiterate what I was going to say, what this man has already said quite eloquently. You need to reevaluate your low end, Sylvia mentioned it. The people in the trailer parks and the individual homeowners are very different. They have a lot of defaults. Be prepared for that. Those people that can't afford $110 a
Right.
month, those are not a lot. The affordable care is having trouble. They can't do $10 co-pays to go to the doctor.
Right.
The doctor's more important than the water bill. So you need to evaluate an awful lot of appropriate income.
Right.
They have, it's fun.
Find a way to do it. Crown Point is full of subdivisions that the sins of the fathers and the grandfathers, people are underwater with even a minor storm. And it's happening, I would guess, the vast majority of these red areas are these spot zoners that went just beyond the city limits, so they didn't have to follow the rules. We're gonna have to have rules for an awful lot of this unincorporated. That
Right.
never happened before. And then gradually make that requirement in your fees. That's all I'm asking.
And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do tonight.
So, all right, anything else on the board? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Let's get a roll call, Vicki.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
No.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Litton?
No.
5-2.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Salary ordinance adoption.
I'll make the motion for the ordinance as presented.
Second.
First and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's get a roll call on this. Do you have discussion?
Why wouldn't we amend it to reflect the changes we did today with the sheriff's department? Or does that just come back and do it in January?
Because we also need to make the changes to their budget.
The bottom line is still the same as, it's gonna actually, actually it's gonna improve us.
Okay, any other, concerns or thoughts? None, roll call.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Litton?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
7-0.
Anything else?
I want to bring up one thing, Dan. Yes, you know, last year we talked about having the auditor sweep the accounts to the healthcare at the end of the year. Is that still up on the table?
Good point.
Can that be done, sweep all the excess cash over to healthcare?
Do you understand what he's asking, Vicki?
Yes, we have not yet pulled that final appropriation for the healthcare, the healthcare appropriation already, that you've already appropriated, and we haven't pulled it. Yes.
I mean, you're talking about the health insurance, okay, the claims that we're talking about here, and pulling them out of, what are you talking about?
Just sweep all the accounts. I mean, we're gonna, and everybody's gonna end up, we're gonna end up with how much extra money this year? $500,000? Million? Yeah, sweep it over to healthcare. We're gonna end up with $1 million in all the accounts.
Right.
What Bob is saying is like our normal general fund sweep.
Yes.
December 31st.
Sweep it all.
Proposal is to sweep it to the health insurance line item.
Okay.
Man after his heart?
I guess what difference it make? Fine. I mean, Vicki, you have a problem with that?
Well, it is good to have an opening balance in the general fund. That helps get us through. It helps on the budget form in terms of...
I mean, this is part of our carryover money that we were talking about, right? I mean, it's just, so it's 6 and a half dozen the other.
Well, either that, or it goes back to the healthcare.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
Take it down.
Tomorrow. Let's call the whole thing off.
Big RV, little RV.
We're going to have quite a bit of a balance in the health fund.
I don't understand where it's at.
Continue as they're going.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, sounds pretty good. Anything else?
When are we meeting in January? Are we?
We are meeting in January probably. We may have to meet, well, yeah, we're not meeting again this month, unless something comes up.
That'll be an emergency, I'll go on the floor to show.
Yeah, so I'll send out an email, I'll have Joyce on email, and we'll schedule our reorg meeting and anything that we have to take care of. All right.
First week of January, somewhere in there.
Yeah, first week of January.